Hey everyone, thanks for checking out the Ham and Spam Retro Review, the podcast where we like to review retro games, movies, TV shows, and everything in between.
Check us out on all the social medias, including Twitter, where you can find us at Ham and Spam Games, Instagram, which is also at Ham and Spam Games, Facebook at Ham and Spam, and even YouTube. Just search Ham and Spam Retro Review.
For more content, check out our friends Nick, Brandon, and also Clint on their podcast, Talk or Go Home.
Thanks for listening, and we hope you enjoy. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Ham and Spam Retro Review, where we review stuff that is retro and or games and or movies and or TV shows. Hammy, save me.
That's more or less true.
Okay, thank you.
But we are joined. I'm going to cut straight to our guest here.
Yes.
So professional.
Please.
We're joined by none other than Nicholas K. Wilson.
Yes, that is my name, and I am here.
From our good friends at Talk or Go Home.
Yes.
Yes.
So,
what's up, guys?
This has been a long time in the making, and it's very last minute. Like, you called, we were talking. I said, "Hey, what are you doing tonight?" And you were like, "Well, nothing." I said, "Well, come over if you want." You're like, "You know what? I might actually take you up on that offer." And here he is. He's in my house, in my game room that is a mess right now.
You mean the Ham and Spam Studio, sponsored by Bob's Big Buick?
I love Bob's Big Buicks, man. I get my Buicks there all the time.
Yeah, we need to see if Bob can get us some more commercials sometime.
Well, I mean, if he'd pay the bill for our podcast, I think we'd give him more airtime.
That's true.
Just send him another invoice.
Yeah, well,
I'm sure he's past his 90 days, but.
So, Nick, how are you doing?
I'm great, man. Okay, so first off, I just want to say how excited I am after listening to this podcast for so long. I'm finally here on it. It's sort of,
and it's not a collaboration this time. This one's purely Ham and Spam.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm here, like where it is recorded with you guys,
right?
Just us, where the magic always happens with your equipment. We've done some crossover episodes, but those have sort of always been on our turf, I guess.
Yeah.
With Talk or Go Home, but now I'm here on y'all's turf, and so it's awesome.
I will say I'm a little nervous with Nick here because it's like having your boss in your home. Because Nick is my boss on.
No, I'm not.
Dog Talk. He's
I'm
my
not your
boss
boss
on Bulldog TV. He's my boss on Talk or Go Home. He's got more tenure, therefore he's my boss when it comes to the local high school we'll be coaching at together this year. So I've got my boss in my house.
That's not true at all.
Is that why you're showering him with candy?
Yeah, well, my wife is. She's trying to make me look good.
Craft services.
By the way, if you see me lean back all the time, it's because I don't want my breathing to come through the mic.
Okay.
It's rather labored.
A little as he does it.
Amy.
That's a little behind the scenes there that we do where we
reach for some more peanut M&Ms.
But no, though, it's like real quick, I just want to say, so there have been a couple of points in my life where I've been able to look behind the curtain, so to speak, at how certain things are done that I've enjoyed from a spectator's point of view. And one of those is occurring right now. I'm getting to see how y'all make this show, and it's pretty cool. I'm enjoying it. Because usually I'm the one that's like producing and writing and
you're the one having to get all this stuff together.
Yeah,
now you just come in and talk.
Yeah, now I'm the guest, and it's pretty sweet. I'm enjoying it.
I
honestly.
like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you're going to get to see that everything we do is ready, set, go. We just kind of talk about our subject. I'm not going to lie, you kind of threw a little bit of a wrench in our system.
I know.
Here.
I apologize.
If you have tuned in for the game that was teased last week, even though it was not mentioned by name, that's probably not happening this week.
It wasn't even teased.
It wasn't.
I don't even know why you're bringing this up.
Well, I just figured I'd...
Is this going to be the season finale?
No.
This is not the season.
No. The season finale will come, and you will be on it.
I will.
again.
Oh, I will. It'll.
Yes.
Yeah. That's
The
right.
thing
You told
we've been
me-
talking
yeah,
about. That's going to be our
something
season
else
finale.
that's in the works.
Yes.
Yeah. We just have to get some more scheduling down.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be pretty cool too.
That's going to be awesome.
I'm very excited about that.
But the reason why we're here today is to chit chat with Nick about retro, I guess. Retro for Nick revolves around what time period you think? What does retro mean to Nick?
Okay. That's a very tricky question for me because there's retro that I lived through that I
Sure.
call retro. And then there's also retro that my generation as a millennial sort of harkens back to.
Sure.
But I personally did not experience.
Right.
So what are you saying? Which one do you want me to go for here?
Yes.
Okay. So the retro that I lived through is late 90s, early 2000s.
Okay.
That's my
What you consider your retro for your existence period.
exactly like the I'm trying to think of like the peak Beyblade era
Okay.
is
Oh, yeah.
is that's what I lived through. But nostalgia for me, really, when I think retro, when I think of the term retro, I think of anything that Steven Spielberg directed pre 1995. That's retro
fair.
for me, and all the culture associated
Right.
with that.
Okay.
That the 80s, especially 80s music, I grew up with. I loved 80s movies, films. 80s culture, 70s and 80s culture. Fleetwood Mac's one of my favorite bands. The Eagles are one of my favorite bands. So
Well,
I'm a 70s, 80s guy.
Well, maybe that's what we need to do. We need to really define the retro versus nostalgic, because nostalgic for us is like Nick described, our childhood, that childhood era,
Oh, yeah, I get what you're
and
saying.
that would be kind of nostalgic. You see it, say, "Oh man, I remember doing this." And then retro would be the things that we really enjoy that actually became right before our times, that our parents basically helped us grow up on.
So basically, our show is going through an existential crisis right now.
See, so
Quarter life.
I
quarter
mean,
life.
well, it's like I think all in go ahead.
Yeah, I'll go ahead. I may have broke something.
Easy, buddy.
It was that picture Clint asked me to carefully put in the corner, and I think I just shattered it.
Anywho.
I
It was
can't
an
remember
ugly
what I
picture
was saying.
anyway.
I can't remember what.
Well, Hammy apparently is saying that we're going through some sort of a crisis with how we're describing things now.
So I'm like you said. Did you say on the podcast that I'm 10 years younger than y'all? Did you? Or was
I don't
that
think we
before
said
okay.
that. On
That was
this
before we
podcast,
started recording.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not considerably younger than y'all, but I'm definitely not in y'all's generation.
Sure.
That's very obvious and sort of through our life experience. You can just tell and our perspective on the world. But anyway, I think we all at some point in our lives as humans have to deal with the fact that we're getting older. That's why coming of age stories are so poignant.
Yeah.
And speak to everybody,
Right.
because everybody grows up unless you die. And so
Wow, that took a turn.
Yeah. So sorry.
Well, see, and I can tell exactly what you're talking about, because the thing that I used to not care for the most in Christmas Vacation was that part where Clark is up in the attic watching his old movies and stuff.
See, I did too.
And I really could care less about that.
Couldn't
care less about that. But as I've gotten older, it's like, man, I kind of understand what he's going through there. Kind of wishing things were back the way they were or whatnot.
I do a lot. Yeah, like my youngest nephew is just 19, and I tell him all the time, it's like, man, you should have grew up in the 90s. It was so much better then, which, that's opinion or whatever, but yeah, I like to think back on those times, and it's like I really didn't appreciate them as much as I wish I had. I guess that's why they say youth is wasted on the young.
Yeah.
That's so true.
Because it's like, man, we had it so good. I wish I could just have bottled that up and brought it with me. But
and I'm going to be honest with you. There is nothing like seeing something from your childhood that you haven't thought of in years.
Oh, yes.
And then you seeing it or hearing it, and then just this wave of nostalgia rolling through you. I can't really describe it any more specifically than that, but that to me is what happens. It's just like it hits you.
I tell you two things that really suck about all of this is one, you find that piece of memorabilia, whatever it is that you love so much growing up, and you look at it through different eyes, adult eyes. You're like, man, this kind of sucked.
Yeah.
You've got that, and then two, when you end up having kids, you show it to their kids, and your kids are like, man, that sucked.
Yeah.
So those are the two worst feelings about, you found something, because what was it? I was trying to show May. I think it was Darkwing Duck. I remember growing up with Darkwing Duck and it being just the most awesome cartoon. It was just fun. And it's kind of wacky and zany.
That. Yeah,
and I showed Maze, and Maze is like, "This is stupid." I'm like, yeah, it kind of is.
Yeah, that was my childhood.
I mean, really, it is. It's my childhood. It's better than that crap you watch now. So leave me be.
One thing, especially with video games, like we grew up, everything was physical. You had to get a physical copy of everything.
Yeah.
Now it's all digital, and still part of me just wants to get the physical, something to put my hands on, especially like books.
Oh, absolutely.
When I got my iPad, it's like I had the books on there I could read, and it's like it's just not the same for me.
Yeah,
exactly.
I still have to have a physical book.
Yeah, I'm a physical book kind of guy, and what you're saying about physical media, I think is really, really, really. I don't know. As somebody. Well, I'm 25 right now. So as somebody that sort of grew up in that transition from physical to digital media, that I can remember, this is actually kind of crazy. I can remember like it was yesterday, the moment I figured out what Steam was, like as a platform. I'm going, I think I just bought a game, and in the insert of the cover of it was in, back when games were on CD or DVD, and it was in the case, there was a little pamphlet for Steam. And I can remember vividly me not being able to install the game off of the DVD. Something wasn't going right. I think it was Age of Empires 3. It was one of the expansion packs.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I really don't know what this pamphlet is, but it says download it to install the game. So I downloaded Steam off my slow as crap internet connection.
Welcome to rural Alabama.
And that's sort of, and I really didn't actually figure out what Steam was until after like 6 months of playing with it. And this is what this platform is, and now, I mean, I still have a Steam account. I still play video games off of Steam, and it's actually a really convenient and cool thing.
I love Steam.
But yeah, it's awesome. But I just remember sort of that transition, me having to get out of the physical media mindset. Like I've got to have a DVD or I've got to have a cassette, I mean, I had I drove a 94 F-150 in high school. And so if I wanted to listen to pre-recorded music, I had to have a cassette tape. You know what I mean? That was it. And Bluetooth was around. Like MP3 players were a thing when I was in school.
Yeah, but not in that truck.
Not in the, it was cassette tapes.
I remember
all day, every day.
I remember our big thing was we all had cassette tapes in ours. Did you have a CD player?
A CD player.
Okay, I did not.
I was living in the future, man. My T-Bird.
Well, my 1989 Thunderbird. Yeah, we were the Thunderbirds, by the way. My 1989 doo-doo brown Thunderbird did not have a CD player, so we had to go the route of the cassette with the adapter. We could play the CD, and then the endless CD or the endless tape that would play that would convert it. Every time you hit a bump, it would skip. And
See, I had a mobile or portable CD player that I took on the bus with me before I could drive.
Yeah,
and every time you hit it, and it was with those cheap, uncomfortable headphones. Oh my gosh, it's like they never upgraded those things from the Walkman days. It was basically the same headset, just kind of looked different, but just as uncomfortable. And every time that school bus would hit a bump, which was very often in rural Alabama, it would skip. And I don't know. There's something about that was magical.
Yeah.
Looking back on it.
Sure.
Yeah, you want to get rid of the headphones that came with the CD player and get those that went around the back of your head.
Right. Exactly. Yes. You're exactly right. Yeah.
And it's funny how everything has kind of come full circle with a lot of that stuff. I mean, you look at like cell phones when they first come out, they're huge, and they got super super teeny tiny. Even the SNL skit, with Will Ferrell.
God, that's one of the best SNL skits
because they break up, like they can't keep a straight face. None of them can.
Well, he comes in on the Will
scooter thing.
Scooter.
Yes, but So they get super tiny, and now they're starting to get big again. Have y'all noticed that? I mean, as the screens are getting larger,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, better resolution.
well, and then they've also got the Razors has kind of made a comeback where it's the foldable phone. It's got the LED screen that
It
can
was
fold.
crazy. I was on TikTok today and I saw the advertisement for that Samsung foldable phone. It is a flip phone with a touchscreen that folds out and it's got a full touch.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow.
I
What
didn't
comes
know
around
it ever
goes
did
around,
that.
baby.
Yeah. So speaking of that, I actually found my old blue Nokia phone.
Oh, really?
Oh, the
Yeah.
heat taker
wow.
with
Yeah,
Snake,
I've got it.
Snake and Groovy Blue.
And the charger. I need to plug it up and play some Snake.
Please insert Groovy Blue right here. The old Nokia Groovy. That was the best.
Oh yeah,
That was the best ringtone.
It
I
took me a
love
while
that.
to figure what you're talking about.
I vaguely know what you're talking about.
Well, after this, I'll play it for you. You'll know.
Was
exactly
it? Now there is a famous ringtone that was in which Jurassic Park movie was that?
Oh, 3.
Yeah,
the
where
one for the
it's
sat phone.
it's stuck in the
Yeah,
it's stuck in the poop,
yeah,
the giant pile of
yeah. The
poop.
Spinosaur ate it.
Exactly, and then pooped it out. That ringtone still gives me nightmares. Like that movie, man. Talk about a formative movie of my childhood. That was, God, that was.
See, I grew up with 1. I was obsessed with. I'm still obsessed with 1.
I love 1.
So
Absolutely love 1.
when the Spinosaur killed the T-Rex in 3, a piece of me died inside.
I'm gonna be honest with you, not a big fan of that in 3, of that happening in 3.
Yeah, that was weird. They could have left that out.
Well, 3 is a weird movie anyway, just because you've got Vince Vaughn and Jeff Goldblum and who else is in that movie?
Oh,
You got some
man.
interesting. It's like this confluence of interesting characters and actors coming together.
Yeah. Yeah, I was trying to think of who else. What's that?
I don't
one
even
guy?
know. I don't even know who directed that movie.
Gold. Wait, you know what I'm talking about?
Yes,
He was in it.
Well, it wasn't even called. It was called Jurassic.
No, that was
It was Jurassic.
that was 2 that had all those. That had Vince Vaughn.
Yeah, 2.
Was that 2?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was Lost World. 3 had Sam Neill, and it had
That's right. Yeah, they took a break.
William
on
H.
2.
Macy.
Yeah. Yeah. Because they come back to the island.
Yeah.
Yeah.
original island, yeah. And it's been taken over.
That's right. People were about to scream at us through the
our 12 listeners are all right with it. They come to expect it.
Well, hey, speaking of 12 listeners, we as of recording, we're 16 downloads away from having our best month ever. That's not saying a whole lot, but
We better get
like
to download.
it's like 291. I mean, and this episode should put it over the top. So if you're listening to this, we appreciate you listening to it. But it also marks we just went over 4,000 total downloads.
That's awesome.
So
and we're still trying to find Canadian bacon,
yeah.
by the way.
Pete
Pothwaite.
Pete Postlethwaite.
Yeah.
What?
Jeff Goldblum, Julianne Moore, Pete Postlethwaite, Arliss Howard.
How much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck?
Janusz Kaminski was the director of cinema. John Williams did the
composition.
Steven Spielberg directed that.
Mm-hmm.
He did all
I
3
did
Jurassic
not-
Park movies.
Did he do all 3?
I don't think he did 3.
I don't think he did 3. I'm surprised he did 2. That's
Hold on, that wasn't 3 that you just
No, that
named?
was
Oh,
2.
2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, 3 was Joe Johnston. Kathleen Kennedy produced 3. How about that?
There you
Hammy?
go. There you go. There you go.
There you go, Hammy.
That was the first warning sign. Kill the T-Rex. Yes, Lord Kennedy.
Well, I'm going to be fair to Kathleen. She also did 2 and 1. So,
Well,
that was when
She built
that was
it up
when
and break it down.
That was when she was, because she got her start with Spielberg and Lucas on the Indiana Jones stuff, on the Indiana Jones trilogy. That's where she got her start.
Wait, she's that kind of old?
Yeah, that was her first big role in
Yeah.
Hollywood, was
Oh.
helping them produce those movies.
I had no idea. Okay.
Yeah, she's been around the block a time or two.
Okay. So
Hollywood.
I thought she was a little younger. I mean,
No, she's I think she's
probably younger than Spielberg.
I think she's about Spielberg's age, but I don't think she's as old as Lucas, because Lucas is older than Spielberg, right?
yeah.
Okay, so yeah,
Lucas is on up there.
old George. golly, y'all, it's Indiana Jones too. I can remember watching that Kali Ma scene where God, that scared the crap out of me as a kid. Where they're in the volcano.
Yeah.
Oh man.
All right, I'm just checking on my mic.
We're all looking at him like,
Yeah.
what are you doing?
Yeah.
You
Making
good, buddy?
sure it's all good.
Okay. All right. We're going. It's all good.
I'm just sitting here watching these levels and this screen of our luxurious new recorder we have.
Yeah. Hammy splurged a bit with his steamy money and got us a new recording device, upgraded recording device. This is the Zoom H6.
Yeah.
So we don't have to have an adapter to have guests on anymore.
No, it comes with 4 plugins.
Nice. Very nice. Very professional looking.
I like it because it's mobile.
Mm-hmm.
It's much easier than our.
Yeah, it's a
than
lot
our
easier
setup,
when we
yeah.
have. I mean, it's not necessarily better, but it's a lot easier.
I don't know. The preamps on the Zoom are pretty good. This probably sounds really nice.
Do you
we don't know
record
yet.
straight into Audition?
No.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we do.
Okay, I was wondering.
See,
On Talk or Go Home.
see.
Yeah.
So this is where you were talking about where it's just kind of nice to show up. See, I don't do a whole lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
I take the file, and if I have to do it, I'll throw it in GarageBand. We'll put it up, go for it.
Yeah.
Hammy will take it and put it in
Audition.
Yeah.
Adobe Audition. Yeah.
Because Hammy's got stimmy money.
Yeah.
And it's what, $20 a month, $25 a month.
22, 23.
That's crazy.
It's great. I love
No.
Audition,
I'm
though.
not saying that it's not a good product. It's just I don't know if we could. I don't feel like we can justify it with 12 listeners a month or 12 listeners a week. But still,
We do
Y'all-
it because we love them.
that's
Y'all
right.
severely underestimate your audience. I just want to go ahead and put it out. Audience,
That's
I'm here for you. I will stand up and speak for you. I'm
As he
I'm
sits
naming
down.
myself the official spokesperson of the Ham and Spam Retro Review audience. And I'm present. I'm here. I will carry on your I don't know where I'm going.
I don't know
with
where you're going with
this,
this either. I'm going to let you go though.
but I will speak on behalf of all the other listeners out there as a longtime listener myself. Don't underestimate your audience.
Well, one thing that
Despite the numbers that you see.
one of the things that we wanted to do was we wanted to maybe incorporate some of our audience in with these episodes. So Hammy, part of upgrading was allowing us to make the phone calls, have them piped in, and kind of being able to go that route as well.
Yeah, and we still got some stuff to figure out with that because we're a little slow on that.
Well, I mean, we've got super fans Jeremy and
I didn't know
Jeff.
until last week that there were different grades of 3.5 millimeter jack.
I did not know that either.
Yeah,
Did you?
there are.
Well, I was gonna say, did you know? But of course you knew.
Yeah, I didn't know that until about 6 months ago, but I found out real quick.
What it
too.
TRRP and one's TRP or something?
Yeah.
Is that what it
Yeah.
is?
I found out when we were setting up for the broadcast stuff. 'Cause
Ah.
there's different.
And I've
Yeah.
got
levels.
2 adapters in that case there.
Yeah, so like we have to have a TRRP for one side and a TRP for the other.
This
Right.
is so
Because
interesting.
Because
everyone
because
listening.
if they're the same, if they're both a TRP, it sounds
Exactly.
like there's
Yeah.
a whistling sound in the back, and you can't get rid of it.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Look, one is American plug-in, the other's European plug-in. So I need to know.
Is that really what it is?
No, it's not. I'm
But to simplify it,
Yeah.
you might as
Okay.
well say that.
Okay.
simplifying it.
Yeah. So what are some of the things that you really enjoy? Like, what types of movies do you really enjoy that reaches back to that retro or nostalgic era for you?
So I've been interested in y'all both like did a hand thing at the same time. Like they were settling in to listen really, really like you're like my therapist or something. So
My doctor says I have to sit like this or I might suffer from a heart attack. So
really?
no.
Okay, good. Ooh, I was getting worried.
My stomach has a lot of room on it. I can rest my hands.
So I've been interested in movies from like a really, really young age, and there were different points in my life where I thought I wanted to go out to Hollywood and actually try to go into the film industry, whether as an actor or a creator, director, all that. And I still have aspirations to do that stuff. But one thing that I've discovered throughout my relationship with Hollywood over the course of my life is that I've always been interested in the movies that make me feel incredibly emotional, whether it's incredibly happy or incredibly sad or incredibly angry or anything like that. So something that sort of pulls at that, or something that's like, man, that's really awesome, So
I don't think I've ever watched a movie. Well, maybe I take that back. I don't think I've really ever
We watched a
a
movie a while ago. What are
yeah,
you
we
talking
did.
about?
movie that has made me angry. If I could finish my statement.
Oh, what? Really?
I don't think I have. I think the only one, and I don't really get uncomfortable. The only one that has really made me feel like kind of uncomfortable, and I'm sure there's ones out there I've never seen, but the only one I can think of recently is I Care a Lot.
Oh gosh, yeah, that made me uncomfortable.
Wow.
So yeah, okay, I haven't seen that yet. You
I
texted me
you,
and told me about it.
I told you about it,
and I've seen it on Netflix.
And basically, this lady owns this corporation. She goes through and just preys on the old people, man.
Well,
But she gets what's coming to her, right?
I don't know. You have to watch.
Dang. No hint.
No hint.
that got to me because she preys on a lot of like dementia patients.
Yeah.
And my mom's got dementia, so that really kind of hit home.
Yeah.
Seeing that, but yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Those movies that really elicit an emotion with you.
And I think the biggest emotion for me, going back to pretty much what we've been talking about this whole time, in a more specific sense, but to generalize what we've been talking about, it's that constant throughout your life at different stages in your life, having to deal with the fact that you're growing up and you're growing old and you're moving farther away from some of the memories that you cherish the most. Like just, I feel like so often you have coming of age movies, like The Sandlot, or I'm trying to think, what's the, is it, the one with Will Wheaton?
Yeah.
No, not The Outsiders. Is it The Outsiders?
No, I know what you're talking about.
That quintessential 80s movie
where they're going to go find the dead body.
The train tracks, yeah.
Yeah.
That movie, those films
that was
where
a good movie.
Yes, yeah. You're right. About it dealing with that growing up sort of that theme of, okay, you got to grow up, holes, you got to grow up, you got to do a life.
Right.
You got to change. Stranger Things.
Big.
That's what that entire show's about.
Yeah.
I
see that a little bit.
And that to me really, really hits home because I'm somebody that doesn't like a lot of change. Don't get me wrong, I like to live life, but I don't like. And that's really been hard for me too, because every year I have to deal with it.
Yeah.
I teach. I'm a teacher, and you get really close to a lot of those kids, and every year they go out. These kids that you're really close to, because you've had them for 4 years. And here comes a fresh new batch, and it's sounds really corny, really cheesy, but you do fall in love with a couple of these kids, and you really do end up caring about a lot of them, and then they sort of leave you, and that's hard. Every May comes around, and I sort of go through what I call graduation depression, because it's because.
You've seen them every day or almost every day for these 4 years, and all of a sudden you're not going to see them any.
And you spend more time with them than their parents do by that point in their life, because they're at school and then they're at athletics. So you see them every single day, and usually on the weekends.
Yeah.
So you become really, really close, and then as they graduate, you think back to your graduation, and you think back to your high school, and you think back to what you were doing, and it's just this confluence of intense emotion.
Yeah.
And so I think that's why movies that talk about that hit for me at home so much. So any movie really that's got that in it, is what really hits me.
Yeah, I've never thought of it from that perspective, from a teacher's perspective.
Now I'm going to go ahead and say this. There are teachers out there that don't really look at it that way, but most of us do. And
the
here's
good
the
ones
thing.
do.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I don't know why, but it's like there's some secret teacher code where we have to act tough, and we can't admit that we really do care a lot about the kids, but we do. Like, we honestly do.
Yeah.
And I'll sit there and I'll talk to a lot of my coworkers, some of them who are my former teachers, all the time, and 7 out of 10 times either they end up crying or I end up crying, because we're like, what do we do about this kid? I want to help this kid, but they're, in this type of situation. we were in that type of situation when we were growing up, but I don't know how to, so it's just it's
two
tough.
things or three things now. Number one, I enjoy having Nick on already because Nick does a lot of talking. We sit here and listen to Nick more than we've listened to any of our other guests because most of our other
I'm
guests
sorry, I
are
like to talk.
Yeah, no, I don't mean that in a bad way. I'm just saying
Talk
like
or go home.
Like sometimes it'll be okay,
Well,
yeah. I
Stand
agree
by
with
me,
that.
by the way.
Yeah, there you go. Stand by me. That was it.
Two, I want to know more in depth about the other two things I want to talk about. I want to know more in depth of going from someone being a teacher to being a coworker,
Mm-hmm.
and then also what you think about being that gap for some kids, because when I was growing up, I only had my parents to look at. They're 20, 25 years older than I am. And when a kid looks at a parent, it's like, oh, whatever, mom and dad, y'all, whatever y'all thought was that I'm going through was so far along. Y'all, it's changed now, whatever. And I would have loved to have had someone in that gap, that 10 years older than me, that could kind of talk about some of this stuff. And maybe even with some of your coworkers where, okay, obviously the people that you were taught by, they're a good bit older than you. Now you're kind of that in between them and the kids that they're teaching. And kids nowadays, everybody says the kids nowadays are so different. It's not really so much that kids nowadays are so much different. It's just everything's different. The time itself is different. So talk to me about that. Talk about being a coworker with someone that was your teacher beforehand, because that's got to be weird. Like, because now they're, I don't want to say
I call them by their first name.
Right,
and they
exactly. It's like, you talk to Coach Murphy, and forever he's been Coach Murphy, but now it's David.
I can't call him David.
Yeah, I can't call him David. I see some of the old teachers, and I still call them Coach this or Mr. this or Mrs. this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that transition was initially very, I don't know how to describe it.
Well,
it was weird.
Well, before you do, now probably in front of your students, like go to Mrs. Warren, or you're standing
absolutely.
here, talk to Miss Smith or whatever. But when you're there, it's Heather, it's Dawn.
But again, that's a part of that's the code. Is that sort of the unspoken code of the profession is in front of students you always refer to them by their professional name.
Right.
So
Some bit of formality there.
Exactly. People are always other teachers are going to refer to me in front of students as either Coach Wilson or Mr. Wilson, just like I'm going to refer to in front of students Shay, I'm going to call him Coach Monroe,
right.
or Jesse, I'm going to call him Coach Clark,
right.
Miss Warren, I'm going to call her Miss Warren,
right.
not Heather. So, but yeah, that transition was very interesting, and it sort of occurred while I was in college, because my senior year, about 3 months before I graduated, I decided I wanted to be a teacher. I thought I was going into politics. I thought I was going into political science, and I was going to be a bureaucrat, work for the State Department, all that good stuff. And that changed. There was an event that occurred my senior year that sort of changed my perspective on the world a lot. And I went through some stuff my senior year that changed how I approached certain problems. And so that change in thought process sort of brought me to this career, and I stuck with it throughout all of college. And so because of that, because I knew I was going into education throughout all 4 years, I knew that I also wanted to come back home and come back to Asheville. That was my dream job, my goal. And so, I would go back and I'd talk to them about my classes, and we'd sort of talk education jargon, what a teacher would talk to another teacher. And so that's where that student teacher barrier began to break down. But as soon as I was hired, it really happened when one teacher would come to me and talk about another teacher using their first name. That's sort of how it happened. Like Christy McCarthy would come up to me and talk about Heather and Holly, or
like I would have Ms. to say,
Warren,
time out. Who?
Yeah. Well, I mean, so I knew their names, but I'd never called them that.
Like for 6 months, you're going to use first name and last name, because I'm not going to know who these people are, because I've called this person Miss Smith, Miss Davis, whatever for years now.
Well, and it's also one of those. Yeah, it's also one of those things where you get that hit Clint's funny bone, man.
I did.
Wow.
I just love it when you make things like that come full circle.
That's awesome. But that first faculty meeting, man, that was weird.
Oh, I bet.
Because it's you're like I was talking about earlier, you're getting a look back behind the curtain, and you're getting to see your teachers in an environment where they don't have to restrain their personalities because they're amongst their peers and their colleagues. And so you're getting to see their personality. So you get to see sides of your teachers that you'd never got to see on a consistent basis as a student. And so that sort of helped make me feel more comfortable approaching them sort of as a peer. But let me get this straight too, though. They will always be my teacher. They will always be somebody that I can go to. And in my mind, I'm a kid, and they're the one with all the answers.
See, and that is where I don't know if I know I can, because I have to, but it would be hard for me to make that distinction between, okay, you have been my coach for last 10 years, 7 years, whatever it actually ends up being. Now all of a sudden I'm your assistant or whatnot, but I'm still going to you for that kind, because when I go to the school, I'm still 16. I'm still 17. I walk in
I
there.
am too.
I don't know anything. I don't know anything about the real world. It's just boom. I'm nostalgia. Boom, nostalgia. And that to me would be a very hard disconnect. I tell you another thing that's very hard to disconnect is whenever you were talking about using first names and stuff, like sitting in a meeting, a coach's meeting, Shay calls everybody coach. Hey coach, well, we're talking about this coach. And it's like, wait, he just referred to me as coach. Why am I? And he calls him coach. He calls him coach. He doesn't use his first name, and everybody's coach. Who's he talking to?
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's just being around that kind of groups, what you're going to get used to. And that's one of the things I'm going to get used to.
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I have the good fortune of, in my job, I do not feel 25. I feel like I'm an 18-year-old that for some reason they let teach a class and be in charge of kids, and I'm goofing off and having fun with them. I mean, I'm doing my job. Don't get me wrong. Sure. But it is so just. Sometimes I think I don't really realize how unique of a situation I'm in, because I'm back where I went to school.
Right.
And I mean, I graduated college in 4 years. So that I came back relatively quickly. It was my first job.
Yeah, you blinked your eyes and you're back where you were.
Exactly. I'm back. I'm back, baby. But yeah, back. It's so what was your B? I can't remember what your B was.
Well, crap.
Yeah. It had something to do with that 10-year, what was it? 10-year gap?
Oh yeah, the 10-year
gap. Oh,
what
was it? What is it like? Yeah.
Yeah, being the gap, so if you got a teacher that's in their 50s,
yeah,
you're the gap between the students that you're teaching at, 14, 15, 16, 17. Yeah. Because, you're younger than they are, but you're not as young as these kids. So you kind of do you find people that your tenured teachers coming to you more and saying, hey, or just kind of picking your brain about things about
absolutely
kids these days?
Absolutely.
Outside of the media department stuff. Not
absolutely.
Can you tell me how my iPhone takes a picture or how to flip it from selfie mode to regular mode?
9 times out of 10, when somebody comes to me about a student, it is about, hey, you can relate to them, or you have most of the time they start off, you have a better relationship with this kid than I do. I've got X problem. How can we solve it?
Right.
And that, I think, isn't necessarily because I'm so young. Of course, I'll have a very different perspective on this in 15, 20 years. Sure. But I think it's because I care more about the relationship than I do the job.
Sure.
That's my approach to teaching, is I'm going to do my best to earn that kid's trust and respect than I am, and this is going to sound awful.
It already does, but keep going.
Then I'm more worried about that than I am teaching them about the Revolutionary War.
Right.
You know what I mean? Or teaching them about, what the Fourth Estate is in government class or anything like that. I'm at the end of the day, I want the kid to be comfortable coming to me and us having a conversation about some trouble that they've got into outside of school than anything inside of school.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that, as a result, has led to a lot of relationships with kids that has yielded some interesting, I guess, interesting situations. Like, you know, and I've actually had to get some of my former teachers to help me through these relationships with these kids, because it's actually gotten to the point where, and I don't think parents understand, which you're a parent, so you can understand what I'm about to say, but like, I'm not a parent, so I don't know what it's like to be a parent.
Right.
But the closest thing that I know what it's like to be a parent
Is teaching.
is me being a teacher.
Yeah.
Like, there are some of those kids that I know I would probably, you know, I'm not going to say, honestly, I don't know. I'd probably give up my life for some of those kids because I love them that much.
Yeah.
I mean, and I am a coach. I coach football, and I am a part of the athletic media deal that we do. So I do have to be at a lot of these events, but there are some events that I don't have to be at that I just go to because
of the kids.
Because of the kids
that's
exactly.
there. Yeah.
I hate baseball so much. I hate baseball so much.
Well, it's because you never played Base Wars for regular Nintendo.
No, I don't. Yeah. So, I hate baseball. So it is the slowest, most boring game. I don't mind playing it. Playing it is pretty fun, especially when you've got
you don't have 14 people, 3 in the dugout all the time.
Yeah.
And you know, everybody's playing some position, and once that batter's done, they rotate the outfit.
Yeah. It's
Pick up.
pretty cool, but watching it, y'all, is like watching paint dry on a salt flat. It's the most boring, nauseous thing on the planet. And I don't understand how the MLB is still a thing. I don't get that. Anyway.
Cheap hot dogs.
They're not cheap.
So I say that to say this I'm setting up an example here. So one of my best friends on the planet is our head baseball coach at the high school. And I love that man to death.
Who are you talking about, Nick?
I'm talking about Paul Hawk. And I love him to death. And Sean Carter and Caleb Carpenter, his two assistant coaches, I love both of them as well. And I love what they're doing over there. But by gosh, I hate the sport so much. And so at the beginning of this week, this is still my spring break. We're on spring break as of the recording of this episode. Monday, we played at 4:30 and 7 p.m. 4:30 p.m. and 7 p.m. on Monday. And then Tuesday, we played at 9 a.m., 11:30 a.m., and we were scheduled to play at 5 p.m., but it got rained out. So I spent almost all day Tuesday at the ballpark, and I spent the latter half. I was at the ballpark Monday from like 3 o'clock until I think we left out of there at 11:30 that night.
Dang.
And one of the I remember saying in that second game on Monday night to one of my kids who was in the stands, who we were talking to before the second game started. I was just like, gosh, I hate baseball. Like in front of everybody. Like I was just openly announcing it to all these in front of all these baseball parents. Like, gosh, I hate baseball. And the next morning I showed up, I was walking up at it was like 7:45 or something. I was walking up and one of the parents said, "You sure are here early for a man that hates baseball." and I say all that to say,
it's not for baseball, it's for the kids.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You took the words right out of my mouth.
I'm sorry.
And that's literally what I said. I said, I'm not here for the baseball. I'm here for the kids. And he just kind of stopped and looked at me. And he just kind of shook his head and, did that upside down kind of a, not frown, but he just kind of like, yeah. And then just, and I just kept on walking. And it's one of those things where I really didn't realize what I said until after I'd said it. And so I'd sort of thought about it. And I'm like, well, yeah, I guess I am. And there are a lot of kids on that team that I'm not there to watch the game of baseball.
Yeah.
I'm there to support them. Sure. And a lot of them will never admit that me being there means something to them. And to some of it doesn't mean anything to them.
Yeah,
but I know to at least one of them it does.
It means everything.
Exactly.
Right.
Because then I'm going to get that phone call or that text message. Hey, where were you? Or, hey,
but
why
it
can't
also
you
builds
be?
that relationship of, hey, this guy cares enough about me. Let me
Exactly.
let me do all I can in his class.
Exactly.
You know, or I want to take his class because I know he cares about me.
Exactly.
So essentially, what you're saying is you are Michelle Pfeiffer, and this is Dangerous Minds.
I've never thought about it that way. One, because I'm not as beautiful as Michelle Pfeiffer.
Gangster's paradise.
But yeah, pretty much. I love how you view the world, Hammy. By the way,
through 90s movies.
Shout out. I just want to give a quick shout out to my other honorees, my other guests that have been on the show. Alex, Caitlin, Justin's been on the show.
Justin's been on the show.
Justin, we haven't met in person. We've communicated over social media. You're a legend at Asheville. Hopefully I'll get to meet you someday if you listen to this. Who knows? We may even be on the podcast together one day.
We're that is possibly in the works.
I can arrange that.
Yeah, so when I was in high school, all the teachers
Brandon also.
Yeah.
Brandon.
Yeah, Brandon's
Turkey.
But when I was in school, I don't know if I've ever told y'all this. When I was in school, all the teachers talked about Justin Williams as being the pinnacle of Asheville studentness, like the greatest Asheville student of all time. And he was always the guy that I was competing against to be the best student at Asheville.
There you go. Did you win?
No, I don't think I did.
No, because I'm still there.
Yeah. You know, he's off doing, you know, like writing music for like the Eagles or something. Or
Doing
Fleetwood
legend
Mac.
stuff.
Yeah, yeah. And I love following him on Twitter because it'll go from like tweeting about him sitting in the lobby of some like dentist office and or over here talking about some great theological movement or something like that.
Well, Dad Justin is great, Justin, because I love following his life when he posts that stuff on Twitter.
Yeah.
And just talking about, like the other day, he made one comment about Baby Shark. It says, hey, if your kids love Baby Shark, play it in G flat and sing it as low as you can, and they'll hate that song forever. It's just so random, but it was so Justin.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But it helps that Justin's IQ is probably in the 4 digits.
Yeah. Yeah. What?
Yeah. He's an incredible, you can just tell, like, again, I've never actually spoken with him or met him in person, but he and I have communicated over social media.
Oh, he's in this room right now.
And
He comes out of the closet.
Yeah.
Aha.
Surprise.
It's me the whole time.
I made myself show up.
But no, I can just tell over social media. He's a pretty intelligent guy. And I mean, he's written a ton of composed, scored, written, whatever you call it, a ton of stuff arranged.
Yeah.
He's arranged a ton of stuff that our band did while I was in high school.
Oh,
so
yeah.
he was always he's sort of like a ever present in my subconscious. And I have to meet him.
Wow.
You know?
He's is he living rent free in your head up there?
Yeah.
In the good way though, not like
not like he's a villain that I want to get rid of.
Well, we say villain because we just watched the Batman fan film that recently come out. It just came out a couple weeks ago, right?
Yeah.
Pretty cool stuff there.
As an odd transition, but yeah, back to Justin. Yeah, I mean, I talk to Justin probably
a couple times a week,
about every day, at least.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
He actually called me this morning, and I wasn't awake yet, so
yeah,
I tried to call him back. He's another one that's very busy.
Yeah,
he is always. I can tell he's always on the go. But it's interesting too that as a young guy in 2010 to 2014 Asheville, you know, y'all's generation was sort of the generation of Asheville high school students that was, because you got to think when y'all were in high school, I was in kindergarten. So
oh snap.
Yeah.
Well, I was in kindergarten in 01. 02 was my kindergarten year.
Yeah, we graduated 02.
So y'all's senior year was
we're out being awesome and epic. You're still halfway crapping your pants.
What grade were you in?
Our
senior year, what grade were you in?
Kindergarten.
Y'all's senior year was my kindergarten year.
Oh, wow.
So I can remember y'all, like I remember Clint. I remember you.
Wait, what?
Yes, I remember seeing y'all at pep rallies and stuff.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. So
Clint was the one being thrown out.
Yeah. Exactly.
Justin, I remember Justin being like the little kids at Asheville Elementary School at that time.
Well, they know
all
Justin
we,
because he was always because his mom was a first grade teacher.
yes, and
So
all
that's
we
why.
did was talk about, like in kindergarten and first grade, all we did was talk about high schoolers and how awesome they were and how cool they were and how we wanted to be high schoolers and how great we were going to be when we got to become high schoolers.
Yeah. See, we didn't. I don't remember doing that. I don't remember looking up at seniors or whatever and saying, "Oh, I wish
I remember thinking, I wish those seniors were as cool as we are.
And see, that's why you were so cool by the time you were a senior.
See, and that's one of the things that I always thought that was weird about our class. Like, we didn't have a bunch of like bad apples in that class. I don't feel like we had a lot of accomplished people, a lot of smart people.
Well, jived very well.
Yeah, and we all got
My
along
mouth
very
full of
well.
M&Ms.
Sorry. I just and I don't see that. So like there's the groups now that are there like currently, yeah, they all get along. They're all really good friends. They all hang out well, but I just don't feel like it's, I don't know. And maybe that's just
And that's interesting that you say that.
2002
I feel like,
glasses looking at it. I
well,
don't know.
I feel like my grade was that way. I mean, I'll see folks that I went to school with now in town or whatever, not even in town, just out and about. And that's what we'll talk. Sorry, you looking at him doing that was just hilarious.
Get my water.
Hammy's trying to get his gallon in before
Yeah,
the
he
end of the
is.
night. I'm proud of you, Hammy. Keep going. You're almost there.
Yep.
Right on schedule.
I'm a little behind. Hold on.
Yeah.
Keep going.
It's 5 p.m. It's not 5 p.m. No.
I'm sorry, proceed.
And I feel like sorry, Shay, talking to me. I need to watch Cruel Intentions. We
Another
all
great 90s movie.
very 90s, and he's in love with 90s movies. Anyway, we all got along. Like we had our cliques,
Right.
but cross-click communication
Was the thing.
was a thing. And I mean, it was very, this clique didn't hate this clique. And I'm not going to admit or say or claim that I was a cool kid because I wouldn't say that I was, but I wasn't one of those kids that was ostracized to a single clique. Like
Right. That's kind of how I was.
I would hang out
That's
with
kinda how we all were.
I would hang out with the rednecks. I'd hang out with the comic book video game people. I'd hang out with the cool athletes. I'd hang out with everybody.
Yeah.
But I knew too that me hanging out with those people didn't necessarily classify who I was. Like I was Nick Wilson. I was
Right.
going to do what Nick Wilson was going to do regardless of who I hung out with.
Right.
Um,
And maybe that's why you and I jive so much is because I'm pretty much like I'm Clint Thompson. I'm going to do what Clint Thompson
Yeah.
does, and that's crazy crap all the time.
Involves a dumpster, steel chair, habanero peppers,
And a
hospital trips.
hospital trips.
and a grizzly bear, either alive or stuffed, preferably stuffed for safety reasons.
And I that's still kind of true to this day too. I've got various, very different friend groups. I mean, like from y'all to like Alex and Mickey to, Calvin and Jay.
That might be the first time Mickey's ever been mentioned on this podcast.
Really?
Yeah.
It's almost like a requirement. I've got to mention
I
him
know.
wherever I go.
I know.
I have him on here. Talk about like Pong or Pac-Man. Or something.
Yeah, I mean, that's sort of carried over into and that's something I've never grown out of is the random friend groups that I have. I mean, I've got friends that, I don't know. I just like people.
Yeah. So let me ask you this: and I've got my feelings on it. I'll tell you my feelings on it. But let me ask you first: have you been out of school 10 years yet? In 2 years,
I have,
10 years.
yeah, I
right?
graduated in May of 2014.
Okay, so in 3 years.
Yeah,
Okay. Your 10-year union. Should y'all have one? Are you going to it?
absolutely.
Okay.
I'm excited for it.
We didn't have one.
Well, we didn't have one, but we're getting close to 20 now.
Yeah.
That's crazy to think about.
It's your class president that's supposed to do it.
I don't even know who our class president was.
Green. I
We had a
think.
prime minister in our class.
That's
a prime
hilarious.
minister. That's pretty good. Who's the prime minister?
I'm not sure because he got overthrown and replaced by a
Justin
czar, I
Williams.
think. Yeah. Justin Williams took over.
Prime Minister Williams.
I'm not. If we would have had a 10, I don't think I would have went to it. And if we have a 20, I don't think I'm going to it either.
Really?
I see the people that I graduated with as much as I want to see them already.
You know, I do see a lot of them around, and I keep up with a lot of them.
Well, the biggest majority of them is our group. You got Brandon, you got Casey, you got me, you got you. You know, if we're doing it for each other, you got Justin. You know, we got some sprinkled. You know, a class below us and a couple from a class above us, and after that, I don't care seeing anybody else.
Well, geez, here Clint was talking about how he got along with
No,
everyone.
I
Now he
didn't
doesn't want to see them.
I don't.
See, I
want to see them.
I want to
don't.
see them. I'm interested in what their life experience has been outside of who I knew them as. Because 9 times out of 10, they change so much after high school.
Yeah.
That they're a completely different person, or they're a very different person than what you knew. And I'd love to see everybody. I always love catching up. Like our class president, I was SGA president and she was class president. And she and I both went to Auburn, and we actually did our internship 2 completely different degrees, but our internship was in the same building as each other.
Wow.
I was a history intern at Auburn High School, and she was a social worker at Auburn High School, social work intern at Auburn High School. And she's now actually working in Turkey, I believe.
Wow.
And doing something over there. I don't know what exactly, but she's supposed to plan our 10-year reunion, and I'm pumped. I'm pumped to see her and get to hear about what she did over there in Turkey in the pandemic, you know, and all
Wow,
all that other stuff. But
formerly known as Constantinople.
yeah. Rest in peace. Never gonna get over that.
Ottoman Empire.
It's
Byzantium.
That's the OG is Byzantium.
Oh yeah.
Hey, y'all stop history nerding out right here. We're good.
Hey, you shut your mouth and let us go.
We're gonna talk about the Janissaries if we want to talk about the Janissaries. Those
So
poor Christian boys that were forced to convert to Islam.
Proceed.
Look, no, it's actually an online joke. So I'm on this history subreddit, and there's this it's r/history memes, and there's a constant joke about Janissaries in the Ottoman Empire. You'd honestly have to be a history nerd to really.
Yeah, I'm not.
But it's pretty funny. It's pretty funny.
Well, you had mentioned SGA president. Do you remember that I was SGA vice president? I'd just forgotten about it until
I really don't.
That's how much of an impact you made.
You know what my campaign slogan was?
Do I want to know?
Yeah.
Oh, now it's coming back. If I get elected, we're just gonna dance.
We're just gonna dance, and I did the whole
with
whole,
the
that
knees.
one.
Yeah, the knee shuffle, and it won by a landslide.
Oh my gosh!
But who's gonna run against that?
I don't know.
Did
Good
you
luck.
did you run unopposed?
That part I don't remember.
I was the FFA something or another.
Which is funny and ironic because now your cousin is the ag teacher at Asheville High
Yep.
School.
That helped him get the job. Did I ever tell you that when he first got there and he was cleaning out the desk, he found my hunter's registration card.
No, really?
Hunter safety card.
Hunter's safety card.
Mr. Mack had it.
Yeah, from like 99. Like in my mind, I always knew it was like, wait, I went through that safety course because you have to have it before you get a hunter's license if you're born after 1980. And he sent me a screenshot of it. He's just cleaning through the desk and just found it randomly, laminated and everything.
That's awesome.
Ready to go, just not in the hands of the person who it needed to go to.
No.
And that's something that I was thinking about today is the sort of outside of my position as a teacher, but also next to it from both perspectives was think about that. Trent's kids will talk about him for the rest of their lives, just like y'all will talk about y'all's teachers for the rest of y'all's lives.
Yeah.
And so they may die, but it's always interesting to me. Their personality and their impact will always live on through y'all's stories that y'all laugh about with each other. Isn't that crazy?
Kind of makes them immortal in a way.
Almost, yeah.
As long as somebody's talking about it, sure.
Yeah.
At least till
the
that
legacy,
generation's gone.
But I mean,
Yeah.
that's just crazy because like I know about my dad's teachers that I've never met before. Like Casper Carlisle was his
Yeah, my dad talks about him too.
yeah,
Yeah.
see, Casper Carlisle, Mac Honeycutt.
Yeah.
I know about these people, and some of them I know have passed away, but I'm a generation removed from them, and I still know who they are and what they did, and that kind of a thing. That's
yeah.
it's crazy.
Well, I mean, yeah, his kids and grandkids grow up knowing who Coach Murphy was,
Yeah,
especially that waffle story.
that
Which, if you want to hear the waffle story, check out the latest episode of Talk or Go Home.
yeah, it's pretty legendary.
Before this, well, two episodes. Well, no, it was the most recent, but one comes out the same time ours come out.
Oh, this
just
one's coming
week.
out.
Yeah, this one's coming out tomorrow.
Oh wow, okay,
Yeah,
gotcha.
Yeah, we
Manana.
don't do a head schedule, Nick. We
Yeah.
record the day before because we're professional.
No,
like
look,
that.
look.
We shoot from the hip.
Here's the thing: we've done plenty of Talk or Go Home episodes that we've recorded and then put on the Express A train to all of the platforms immediately.
Well,
So-
here's the thing that that gets me, and it gets me in a lot of trouble. Is two things actually. One, I'll try to preview what we're talking about, and then we have
Yeah.
to call an audible before we actually record. It's like, yeah, we were going to talk about this, but now we're going to talk about something different because something else come up and just whatever. But the other thing too is we did some when we recorded early, and it was like right around Christmas. We recorded 2 or 3 at the same time.
Well, when Justin was on, we recorded. It was Christmas Vacation. We were watching, and we recorded like right around Thanksgiving, didn't we?
Yeah, and it's too early. Like by the
Yeah.
time that episode premieres and goes out, you're talking about stuff that's happened 2 weeks before, and everybody's like, "What? This is old. What's going on? Why is this the new one?" So,
Well, I think it's interesting that we recorded that latest episode that's going to air tomorrow
Like 3
of
weeks
Talk or
ago.
Go Home 3 weeks ago, and I've forgotten what we've talked about.
oh, I haven't. I
And-
can't wait till it comes out.
Well, that's why I've had to go back and listen to it to prepare myself, because there are people now that I know that will come up to me and will quote things from the pod. Has that ever happened to y'all?
No,
Somebody will go.
no. See, there's only 2 real podcasts in this town, and both of the people are in this room right now, and we don't get quoted by anybody.
See, David Murphy will come up. David Murphy, after our episode where we interviewed him,
Yeah.
went back and listened to every Talk or Go Home episode.
Well, tell him to go back and listen
And-
to every Ham and Spin retro review.
Well, he knows about y'all's podcast because he listened to the episode with Hammy, and
but not any of the episodes with Clint where he plugs it every episode.
Yeah, no, he's listening to those.
But
He
keep
just,
going.
he just tunes you out.
Yeah, as I say.
Now-
just like
I'm
you're
out.
doing to me, but keep going.
So, but he'll randomly come in my classroom and quote a line from the podcast, and
And
I'm
just
kind of
walk
like,
out.
what?
What?
He's like, "How's your podcast? How's that episode?" That's how he talks, by the way.
Like a 1920s gangster. Ah, she.
Ah, see? My name's Al Capone, and I didn't pay my taxes.
Gave him a bottle of ketchup.
But like, I hope he listens to this episode. But I'm going, I have no idea what you're talking about. He said, "You talked about it on the podcast." I said, "Dude, that was
podcast
6 months
6
ago.
weeks ago. I don't remember it.
I don't
know this-
remember." Now imagine being an actor, okay,
Oh,
and having to go on a press tour for like Avengers Endgame.
yeah.
By the time the press tour came around for them to promote that movie, they shot that movie a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Imagine having to promote a movie that you filmed a year and a half ago.
You almost have to read up on it.
Yeah. You almost have to go back, and you're sitting there and they're asking you questions, and one actor, "Yeah, we did this on set," and the other's going, "We did, didn't we?" Yeah. Yeah, it's because they did it a year and a half ago, and they filmed 2 or 3 other things since then.
Or you can plan a video game podcast and have notes for it sitting
Wow, you do
around.
have notes.
Yeah, I got 4 pages of notes and completely forgot that we had them, and thank goodness we did because we had forgotten most of everything we had played. So, but yeah, that happens from time to time as well. You have to remember what you had written down. Some of it was weird.
Yeah.
I am just so fascinated by y'all's creative process for this podcast, because I do feel like there is a lot of behind the scenes work in playing the game, catching up
Well,
on the game,
there
researching the
can be.
game.
There can be, but there's also times
Yeah.
when we're like completely. I won't say completely. We'll do a real quick playthrough of most of the games that we play, but there are times when we're like really stressed for time. If you want to know the ones, go back and listen to any of the ones with Caitlin or Maze are on, and Hammy's not, because Hammy's not able to be here, whether it's COVID or he got sick or he had something going on and couldn't make it. And I'm like, okay, Maze, you're going to sit here and watch me play this game, and I want you to talk about it. And it was not fun.
Or like last week, we did 6 shoot 'em ups,
Yeah.
and we played all 6 of them. We did, but most of them we couldn't get past the first level.
Yeah,
So,
So it wasn't a review
Oh,
though. It wasn't a
man.
review. It was a ranking. We ranked the 6, which ones we thought were the best ones because of it. But had it been a review, we probably would have put more
I
time.
mean, yeah,
into
we could
it,
put
but
more effort into it and actually, gotten to the second boss. But and those I would just watch playthroughs to see what the rest of the game looked like.
Yeah.
I was actually thinking about this the other day. Well, it was yesterday when I'd started tomorrow's episode. You mentioned in the episode that you sometimes will listen to the Halo soundtrack at work.
Yes.
And that got me thinking about playing Halo back in the day. Because when I was young, it was always Halo versus Call of Duty. What do you play? What system do you play it on? That kind of deal.
Right.
Which one do you prefer? And I can remember vividly sleepovers at friends' houses where we would literally like LAN party
Yeah.
party it up
Yep.
with Halo. We would connect the consoles and that kind of a thing. And one would be in one room, one would be in another, and we would have 2 teams and we just play each other.
Yep.
And
because that's all there was back in that time.
but
we're
not,
old enough to say back in my day, this is how we had to use.
But not everybody could play.
No,
because there weren't enough. Either there weren't enough controllers, or the game wouldn't allow everybody to play.
Yeah.
So there would always be a couple that would sit back and watch and cheer on and sort of get into it.
You have no idea what you're talking about when it comes to that. And I don't mean
Yeah,
that in
he
a
does.
bad way. I'm just
My
saying,
gosh.
like
know I do.
you missed out on our Halo 3.
See, I've heard Brandon has told me some stories.
So I was the first one to get the Xbox 360, and I got it for college football. Then I gave it to my cousin for a year because I hated that version of college football. I played on PlayStation 2 and said, until the next one comes out, I'm not playing it again. So I didn't have it. I didn't have my Xbox 360. Paid $400 and something for this thing, and I didn't even have it. I just, here, you take it. The game,
One of the greatest consoles of all time,
and
you just gave away.
Yeah. And I finally got it back whenever Halo 3 came out, and everybody's talking about it, this, that, and I said, you know what? Okay, I'm going to try it. So finally got around to trying it. Hammy comes over, Alex comes over. Next thing I know, there's Brandon, there's Kaylor, there's Colton, his brother Jacob, and there's like 6 people. And what we're literally doing, there'll be 4 people, on that TV when it first comes. That very TV, that small
That
little
same TV?
rinky-dink TV. was
How
in
did
the
we
living
do
room.
that?
I don't know. But because not long after that, I got that big one that went out. That I guess, did y'all ever get rid of that?
It's buried somewhere in our property.
Anyway, we would play on that very TV, and everybody had their own screen, and 4 of them would go on. And if you won, you kept playing. If you lost, 2 people would come out, 2 would come on, and we'd rotate it like that. And I remember some of the guys out on the front porch, curtains all the way apart, smoking, be freezing to death, smoking out there playing.
That's awesome.
And great times. I mean, the number of times people just fall asleep and then wake back up and play some Halo, and then fall back asleep and wake back up and play some Halo.
Oh, I mean, I remember playing till 5 a.m.
and
calling it quits. And then let's see, there was one time we played till about 5 a.m. I got about 3 hours of sleep, and then I had to go to where did I have to go? I had to go somewhere, and that whole day, I was just like a zombie because I'd done nothing but play Halo with a bunch of, let's see, how many of us were there? God, there were probably 10 or 12 of us there that night. And it's funny because like now looking back on where they all are now, they're all of them are either getting married or have kids.
Yep.
And it's crazy to think about that we were, at one point
time,
in time,
this is what we did.
All we cared about on this planet was that. We
Yep.
didn't have a job. We didn't have kids. We weren't married.
No responsibility. That was
no
my
responsibility.
That was my responsibility. Coming home. playing
Exactly.
that.
That's what you were worried about that week.
Yep.
That whole week, the lead up to Friday or Saturday night, whatever it was that.
I remember vividly that, everybody would come over Friday. A lot of them would stay Friday night into Saturday. And then Saturday at midnight, Hammy always went home because he had to go to church on Sunday.
Yeah.
And as soon as church was over, he was back over here on Sunday.
And my church clothes.
Yeah.
Playing Halo.
Yep. So good times. Good times.
Child.
I just don't think we'll ever get back to that. I really don't.
We will.
What do you mean we? Do you literally mean we, like us three as adults? Or do you mean this generation of youth?
Both. I don't think we as adult, these three people in this room.
What's preventing us as adults from doing that?
Responsibility, the thing
What do
we
you
didn't
mean?
have back then.
What do you mean? What kind of responsibility?
Well, you got home, you got kids, you got
Yeah,
jobs, you
and?
got
Put them all to bed.
So I was listening to another podcast, one of my favorite podcasts, Rhett and Link's Ear Biscuits, and they posed this exact same question.
At the Red House.
Where and buy furniture. I'm not gonna say it, even though it's not. Anyway,
Yeah.
but like they pose that same. Is it weird for adults to sleep over? Like, why do you stop sleeping over with your friends?
I guess people view it as inappropriate. That is a very good question.
Rhett's answer was, it's just weird.
Yeah, it's inappropriate because, okay, Hammy's in here on my couch, which is fine. If he wants to crash here, that's fine. But I'm going to be sleeping.
But do you sleep in there with him, or do you sleep with your wife?
No, I'd sleep with my wife.
So it's that the magic is taken away then.
Yeah.
So essentially, they came up with,
you've got somebody in the house now that would judge you for not coming to bed with her. You'd rather stay up and play games with your buddies all night.
Yeah.
So there's that also, because you're trying to keep the peace. And Carrie, if you listen to this, I love you. But somebody would try to keep the peace, and okay, one of these has got to go. And
well, I think this is where I don't think as adults you can really do it at one of your houses. It's more of a, hey guys, we're going to
Casey's.
We're going to rent a cabin in Gatlinburg.
Exactly. Yes. And this is what we're doing.
Yeah, we're going to rent it for 4 days, and this is what we're doing the entire time. And if you want to come on. If you don't, that's fine.
We'll go out for 4 hours a day into town, but that's it.
Yeah.
I think we just planned a trip.
I think we did too.
I'm all for this. I'm thinking.
Dude, it could be Gadsden at this point.
Yeah, it could.
I'll take my Xbox and my PS4 and my Switch.
I'm just going to sit there and drink water and enjoy the chaos that ensues, because I know that Clint's going to get butthurt over something and punch a TV.
Oh. If that's a mild case of.
Come on now. Clint has not done that. Why am I just referring myself in the third person? I have not done that in a long time. We actually talked about how impressed we were that I've got the original Xbox One controllers.
And now listen.
That do not Bluetooth and have that weird headphone jack.
Now listen, we're not going to get too deep into it because we have plans to have Alex and Casey on so we can do our 30 for 30 on the night Clint and Casey had their football
Conference
game.
USA championship
football
match.
showdown.
Yeah.
There's so many layers to that story.
Look, I don't care if I'm on the podcast. I just want to be here for that story. I want to be in the room when that story is analyzed.
Because there are 4 sides, because all 4 of us were involved in some way.
Yeah.
Wasn't Brandon there too?
No.
Brandon wasn't there for that.
So this wasn't, because Brandon has a story of a meltdown that Clinton had where he was there.
There were multiple meltdowns.
Okay. Gotcha.
They all stem around NCAA football. I'm just going to go ahead and foreshadow that. But let's not talk about all the meltdowns that Alex had. I'm telling you, the things that Alex used to say online.
Oh, he'd go to jail.
Yeah, he'd go to jail. He would never have Xbox Live again for some of the stuff that he used to say when we would play Halo 3.
But actually, if you look at some stuff that's on YouTube, that's a lot worse.
I don't know. There's stuff that these like 11 and 12-year-olds that they'll say today. and you're just going, how do you know about this?
Yeah.
You're 12.
I'll give Alex credit. He never went into like any kind of racial slur or anything that's just completely foreboding. He never did on the Xbox Live stuff. He just,
At
a lot
the
of mother
Red House.
a lot of mother talk
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
other things, but
other things.
we'll let him.
Things that shan't be named. Yeah, I know we have a little bit of a, not so much a ban, but just we don't want to go past this system, but Halo 3's got to be on there one time.
Yeah, to complete the trilogy.
Yeah. Maybe.
By the way,
maybe Reach.
I this is something that I've always wanted to throw at you guys, and I've never actually. Well, I've talked with Clint about it a little bit, but
Well, I don't remember it, so go ahead.
the storytelling component of games,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like is the most underrated component of games, but the most important component of games when people are looking at purchasing and hyping up various franchises. I feel like the storyline is something that's always incredibly important, but that's always overlooked in favor of features,
Gameplay,
visuals. I don't know. That's just something I've always wanted to voice my
'cause
opinion on to you guys.
You could have a game that's got a really good story, but has very poor reception and gameplay and
Mercenaries.
Well,
Right.
You've got to have a balance, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's what makes a true game.
Yeah.
But I feel like when y'all were, in high school and y'all were talking about video games, how important did y'all ever have intense, deep conversations about the story?
Not at all.
But I'm sure that most of the games that y'all enjoy have some sort of important story component to them,
Well, if we ever played a wrestling game, we pretty much make our own story as we went. But
Yeah.
most of it was this, oh my God, did you get to this part of this game?
Well, yeah, and it doesn't help that Clint never played JRPGs because those usually have the most complex stories and stuff like that. For me, story wasn't really important until I got to Mass Effect.
Yeah.
The first Mass Effect was when I was like, wow, this story, like I feel things.
But I also think the Mass Effect franchise was the first sort of, I'm not going to say it was the first franchise that really changed how story played into video game development, but I'm going to say maybe for maybe for the video game industry, it did a lot to popularize how important story was.
Yeah, I think so. Because it was viewed at that time as like the first, like people were saying, it's the first video game that's a work of art.
Yeah.
And
I think it's where a lot of people outside of the video game world started to look at the medium and say, wow, you can do a lot with this.
Mhm.
Well, not only that, because it wasn't Kevin Spacey, wasn't he in one of the Mass Effects?
I think he was.
Kevin Spacey.
I think he did some
He was in
mocap work in one, or voice work in one.
His voice work in what was the last? Not 3. What was the one that happened after that?
I think you're thinking of someone else, not Kevin Spacey.
Spacey
It
was in one of the Call of Duty games. I know that was true. I thought
Okay,
he was
gotcha. That's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, no, Mass Effect 2. Look up the Elusive Man. I can't remember the actor that did the motion capture and voice for that.
He was in Call of Duty Advanced Warfare.
Okay.
What'd you say?
Mass Effect 2, Elusive Man. I can't believe I can't remember the actor.
Which one? The one that let's see here.
Oh, that was his character, was the Elusive Man. I can remember his character.
I don't know.
There's not a
Martin Sheen.
Martin Sheen.
That's who it is.
Yeah.
That's who it is.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Yeah, they start getting some of these big time Hollywood actors that, can really carry, the voice and the character itself. You start getting some of these guys.
He was fantastic too.
Like the guy that does the Allstate commercials, he was one of the colonels in Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. He was Arbiter.
No. That's a different actor.
Oh, okay.
Keith David's the one that does that. He was in The Thing. He was in uh, Them with Rowdy Roddy Piper.
Yeah.
But he's been in a lot of stuff. Keith David's one of my favorite actors on the planet.
This game was formative for me in terms of like gameplay, story, intrigue.
Mhm.
And I'm looking at it here to make sure that I've got all my facts straight. Let's see, hold on. Star Wars: The Old Republic.
Absolutely.
Hammy
Not
just
to the
smiled.
Republic.
He smiled and leaned into
Knights of the
mic.
Republic is one of the greatest, not just Star Wars games. I think it's one of the greatest games ever. And it was also
I absolutely
BioWare.
agree.
It was
Yeah,
a
BioWare.
precursor to Mass Effect. The
Yep.
reason I bought Mass Effect was because BioWare did it.
BioWare Austin and BioWare Edmonton worked on it. And you know, when you look at, so I listened to a podcast called well, now I can't remember the name of it. But anyway, so
Very
they
unique name for a podcast.
They screen something, and they look at the screenplay and the story development of movies and TV shows, but they actually went into the latest Star Wars game. I can't remember what it's called, but and how
Fallen Order.
Yes, I think you're right.
That's a fantastic game. Good story in it too.
Well, and they interviewed one of the writers of that game, and she talked about how, because they were interested, they're all movie writers,
Mm-hmm.
and they all write for movie and television, and so they were interested in, okay, how do y'all write for a video game? And it's very interesting how you make a video game. It's very decentralized. You know, the animators and the video game artists aren't necessarily there in the development stages with the writers. So it's sort of incoherent in how the game is made,
Mm-hmm.
which makes me appreciate a good game and a good story that much more.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's crazy.
And I'll tell you a recent game that I think nailed everything was Ghost of Tsushima.
See, we've talked about that. Yeah.
That game from start to finish has everything. It has incredible story,
Mm-hmm.
just amazing pacing throughout the whole story. Gameplay is top notch. Just everything about it. It's one of my all-time favorite games.
I thought you said something interesting about the first time that a video game made you feel. Any other games that kind of made you do that? I mean, there was one that made me think, and maybe kind of got me into a series a lot more. And that's Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah, Metal Gear Solid is fantastic.
It's very deep. There's a lot of backstory. There's a lot of there.
Twists and turns. I think for a lot of people, the first big emotional moment is probably Final Fantasy VII when Aerith dies.
Yeah.
Just because, yeah, you'll never get there. But there are other.
I love the honesty in that comment.
There are other parts, like even like Final Fantasy VI, also known as Final Fantasy III in North America.
I think that's part of the reason I couldn't get into Final Fantasy because of the numbers.
It had a part to it that dealt with like suicide, and that was a Super Nintendo game.
Yeah.
So a lot of these stories, you know, I guess, Nick, like what you were talking about, a lot of times, I guess maybe we overlooked a lot of the story in games. Maybe that's something that comes with maturity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they were there. It's just we didn't really look for them.
Maybe it was something that you appreciated, but you couldn't put your finger on it.
Right.
That may be what it is. Whereas when you get older, you can sort of, I guess, break it down more just because of life experience and you just kind of know how to break it down and analyze and look at it because you've lived a bunch of life.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. I used to not be a very emotional person, and now I'm trying to think back about when the first time that a movie really made me cry. And I think it was the end of Band of Brothers. When Band of Brothers came out on HBO, Dad bought again, physical media. Dad bought the DVD set. And I can remember, which now we call it binge watching. At the time, it didn't have a name.
Yeah.
But I can remember sitting there one weekend and going through
all the episodes. Because
I was a history guy. I was just getting into the war. I was in probably the 8th grade when I did this. And at the end of Band of Brothers, the scene where it's talking about where all the guys, as they're playing baseball, where all the guys ended up and what happened to them. I can remember in that scene feeling something just so incredible. Like, I don't know how to describe the emotion. It wasn't necessarily sadness. It wasn't necessarily anger or excitement, but it was just something very intense. And then most recently, I remember the first time that I watched the animated Lion King all the way through. It had been about 8 or 9, maybe even 10 years since I'd last seen it. And this has probably been a year or two ago. And I watched it all the way through again. And I can remember at multiple points in the movie just crying. And I think some of it was because of the nostalgia, but also some of it was because I could appreciate what the film was trying to do more than when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And there was a relation to it.
Absolutely.
It talked
100%.
about, growing up and graduating and all that. Maybe it's those life experiences that makes us appreciate these things more.
I think it does.
Because it's almost like passing through something to the other side.
Yeah.
Like a loss of, I guess, innocence in a way.
Absolutely.
And so then we start to appreciate these things because we start relating to them a lot more.
You don't appreciate what you're experiencing until you realize when that experience can play a huge role in your life. Like we didn't appreciate, we talked about it a second ago. We didn't appreciate not having any responsibility until we had a ton of responsibility.
Right.
You know what I mean? And we didn't appreciate the freedom that we had there. And I think that, again, going back to the whole thing that we've been talking about this whole time, that's a part of the whole coming of age deal is you have to come to terms with the fact that you'll never return to that point in your life again, really, where you won't have some level of responsibility. Like you can never go back and live your life like you did in that moment in time.
No, you can go visit it.
You can go visit it and you can be reminded of it and experience it, but you're not going to live it again.
I tell you the biggest thing that will summarize what you are saying, it's from a movie standpoint, is a Goofy movie. Because when you're little, you're
that
like,
movie hits hard.
Man, all Max wants to do is go hang out with his friends. Goofy's such a bad dad. And then once you become a dad, you're like, man, Max is such a pissant.
Ungrateful little child.
Right. Because all his dad wants to do is spend time with him.
Yeah.
It's like Toy Story 3 makes me cry every time I see it too.
Yep, absolutely.
And the cat's in the cradle.
Dude, that song right there gets you a little bit too. It really does.
Oh, yeah.
It's crazy.
You hear it and you see your dad all kind of getting teary-eyed about it. You're like, what is wrong with him? Whew, you get a kid, man, it'll do it.
Shoot, I don't have a kid and it gets me teary-eyed.
Look, I mean, there's stuff. I've got cousins that are in high school, and they'll come and swing by my classroom during class change, and they don't realize how important it is for them to come and talk to me. Like, it might be I'm gonna come in and I'm just gonna say, what up, Coach Willie? What's up, Foo? What you doing? You know what I mean? Yeah. And it just means the world, because that means that they're coming in there and they've at least thought about me in that moment. It doesn't mean anything really to them, probably, but it's crazy what it means to me.
Yeah.
On multiple levels. And 10 years ago, I never would have thought like that.
No.
Ever. Never would have thought like that. And yeah, growing up, this got really sappy really quickly.
Yep.
But growing up is there's some great things about it. There are some things that just suck about it, man. I mean, because especially when we're doing what we're doing and we're going back and we're kind of reliving what was. I mean, you said it earlier to harken back. It's kind of weird knowing that these kids now will not be kids like we were kids.
Yeah.
That's weird to me to think that way.
Well, I don't know. All I know is when he gives away his toys at the end, that gets me.
That's so sad.
It is sad.
Forky. But the Forky was in the 4.
Because we've all been there.
Yeah.
Yeah, Forky was in 4. But no, yeah.
Here's
the thing.
Here's the thing. Cartoons on Disney Plus.
Yeah, we've talked about it.
100%. I saw one the other day. I laughed for 10 minutes straight. It was so good. I'll have to let y'all watch it. It's 6 minutes long, but it made me laugh for 10 minutes.
See, I think the reason that the ending of Toy Story 3 is so emotional is there's multiple reasons for that. And I think it's because, one, you're saying goodbye to characters that you grew up with.
Yeah.
Okay. Or that you experienced life with. Like, we grew up with Andy.
Yeah.
I grew up with Andy. And now he's leaving. Also, at what point in our lives have we had to do that exact same thing with a toy of ours or with something that was special to us, but that we had to give up?
That's what got me. It wasn't Andy. Forget about Andy. I don't worry about Andy. The whole, they were always there for you. They were your best thing, and then whenever you need them, they were always there. And now you've grown up, you don't need them anymore. And it was just sad, man.
What a great analogy for parents.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Which you haven't experienced. Maze hadn't left yet, but mom and dad talk about this all the time. I don't see mom and dad. I see mom and dad maybe once a week.
Yeah.
And I live with them.
Yeah.
And that's because I work so much and I have a life outside of the home, and I haven't really I haven't vacationed with them. I haven't done anything. Looking on it now in this very moment, it's actually kind of bad of me as a son, but because I would never want my kid to do this to me. But after high school, it's like I became an adult and I left.
Yeah.
And now I'm gone. And that blows my mind. I can understand how empty nesting is a tough thing for somebody to go through.
Yeah.
I can sort of get it. So, I mean, you've invested so much time and energy into this thing.
Yeah.
That's living, that you're a part of.
I did so good not killing it. Now I hope I raise it right.
Yeah. And but
now
then,
I've unleashed it on the world.
But then sort of like the toy, it's, the kid no longer needs you.
Yep.
And it has to grow up, and the child has to.
It can be he or she.
The child, yeah, they have.
It's 2021. It's it.
They have to move on and become their own, and so, in a really sad way, and this is crazy to think about, but they don't need you anymore.
No,
they keep you around because they love you, or at least you would hope that they would.
They don't need you till they need something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Which is the whole point of needing. So I just kind of contradicted myself, but still.
Maybe that's what life is. It's a constant choice of what to let go and what to keep.
Jesus Christ, this is a retro review podcast. What are we talking about?
But no, I think that's what we're getting at is what is retro. It's the life experiences that made us and that we look back on for one reason or another, and we like to live through again,
right?
In our memory.
And that's the main reason I wanted to do this retro review podcast was, one, relive the games I had when I was a kid, but two, play some of the games I never got to play as a kid. So it's almost like, in a way, I can relive a little bit of that, even though I'm much older.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say we're all much older, but it's still nice to go down memory lane every now and then.
Yeah, absolutely.
So when we get together for this weekend, I'm kind of excited.
Yeah, we need to plan that. That's...
Yeah. How does one inadvertently plan a vacation?
Secretly.
Well, let me tell you,
need one.
Yeah.
So I have no idea how long we've been recording. Does that fancy new one tell
It
us how long
does.
we've been
An hour and
recording?
33 minutes.
Well, there you go. All right.
Wow.
And we could keep going as long as y'all wanted to, but I feel like we probably do need to wrap this up.
Yeah.
Before we get out of here, I do have one question. When we were coming back on vacation, one of Maze's friends asked the question. He said, Coach Clint, if you could live in any time period, any decade, and place yourself back in that decade and go forward until your life ended, what decade would you go to?
Ooh.
And I thought that was coming from a 12, 13-year-old kid. It's pretty deep. I mean, I don't know where he got it from, but I thought it was pretty deep. And I feel like that there's no wrong answer, but there's a right one, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you what I said, but I want y'all's input on it.
I would go back to the end of World War II. And start from there. Go through the 50s, the 60s, the whole Cold War era. Well, knowing what I know now, not being terrified of a nuke dropping on me, but that's where I'd go.
See, I thought that, but the 50s were really good. It was, that time of prosperity and everything. But then you got to go through the 60s with all the drugs, and the 70s with Vietnam, and then
yeah. But remember where we're at. We don't. If I'm still in rural Alabama, that's a lot of it.
And I understand that, but I'm just saying, you got the rest of history doesn't change, and you can't necessarily go back and change it.
I mean, yeah, those
still
things
gotta
are
go
present,
through that
but
stuff.
there's a lot of good stuff there too.
Am I the age that I am now?
Yes.
So I would go back to that time period.
You'd go back to
and live the rest of my life
1944 at 25 and live the rest of your life going forward.
I'd go back to 1980.
Oh, nice.
And we have a winner.
That's
the right answer. And let me tell you why. Anything pre World War II, you got World War I, you got World War II. You're done for. Anything before that, you've got no air conditioning. And Lord knows I love my air conditioning. Okay.
If you live in the South, absolutely.
The 50s were good, but like I said before, it was a feel good time. We had just gotten out of a war. Dwight Eisenhower's president. He's, we're gonna make America great again. Whatever. 60s. Well, that's. I go back to that because of Reagan, because that was Reagan's slogan. Was he wanted to go back to how it was in the 50s, how everything was just vibrant and the economy was great and everything. But anyway, you've got the drugs of the 60s, you got the Vietnam junk and everything of the 70s, and then you hit the 80s. You hit Reagan.
That's true.
You hit everything that was good about America was in the 80s. And then you had the awesome 90s. How cool it was when, America's changing a little bit. And you got the awesome 2000s. And then after that, so if I go back then, I'm 36 now. So I've got all the 80s. So there's 10 years. That's 46. Then I got all the 90s. There's 56. And I got all the 2000s. That's 66. And I'm probably not going to live much past that anyway. So that's where I would go. The 80s. I'd go back to 1980 and go forward.
That's all a huge bonus.
Yes.
But my reasoning is that I would love to watch my dad go through high school. That's why I chose that year. My dad graduated Asheville High School in 1984, and I would love to see him as a younger man than me and just watch him that sounds weird, but just watch him grow up from afar. That would be so cool to me. That would be just awesome.
Hey, you're going to have a son. Name him Nick. Model him after me. I'm cool.
and then just sort of watch life play out. That to me would just be awesome. Everything else though, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. 110. I would get to experience, all of that stuff that we've been talking about pretty much the whole episode in real time. Like everything that you see in Stranger Things, I'd get to experience in real time, which would be awesome. I mean, how awesome would that be? So,
well, not the sci-fi parts, but yeah.
Well, there's some things that I wish I could have experienced, like the moon landing. Like I wish I could have experienced, watch the actual telecast of, Small Sweat for Man or one giant leap for all mankind. Whatever that quote was. I can't think of it right now. Anyway,
you got it.
Things like that. Just the little things like that. V-Day when we won, dropped the bomb. Hey, USA, we won. We're the greatest. That kind of stuff. I'd love to just experience that. I don't want to necessarily live in that time period, but I would love to experience that day.
Yeah.
The this time, that time.
I would love.
The only bad thing about going back to the 80s, you got to go through 9/11 again. 9/11 was just terrible. I thought was.
Well, would you try to warn people?
See, to me, I don't think you could change that. I don't think you could change history. I think that'd be.
Well, I'm sure that would be a stipulation.
Yeah, I'm sure that.
Back,
Yeah, exactly.
You couldn't.
Yeah, you can relive it all, but you can't change.
Like a quantum leap type thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, not only that, but kind of like a Desmond Hume thing, where even though you try to change it, it's inevitably going to happen.
And we're back to Lost.
Yep.
There
you
you
know
go.
it's coming full circle.
Yep. Which we've got to talk about one day.
Yeah, we will.
Why do you look like a librarian right now with your glasses all the way down to the end of your nose? And you pushed them up like a librarian.
There we go.
There we go.
There we go.
I think we're coming off the rails here, boys.
Yep,
I do
big
too.
trailing.
A little bit. So, all right.
Gentlemen, I've really enjoyed it. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you for
Well,
being here.
Thanks for randomly showing up at my house. We appreciate it.
No, that was random. You called him.
Shut up. No, Nick, we're really proud to have you here. I know it's been far too long, but hopefully the next one won't be near as long. So
Absolutely.
we appreciate it.
Yeah. Check out Talk or Go Home.
Yeah. Don't forget, you can. Oh, wait, wrong.
I was going to actually do that
Oh, really?
because that's pretty much what this was. But
Yeah.
no, I really enjoyed the conversation, and we touched on a lot of different subjects and a lot of.
We went
deep
really
subjects.
deep on this
Yeah.
episode.
We did.
Yeah, we did.
We went. I apologize. That's all me.
I
But
loved it.
I'm really going to laugh if we have an uptick in audience because of this episode. So, well, I guess that's all we got for this one. So, maybe we'll get back to video games next week.
Mayhaps.
Um,
And look for another collaboration with the guys from Talk or Go Home in the future, in the very near future.
very near, not next episode, but very near future.
Yeah.
Into season 3 for us.
Which
Hopefully.
is episode 65 future.
We're 66 now that we threw this one in here. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah,
play it by ear.
Yeah, we'll do
from the hip.
We'll do exactly what we always do, and that's just shoot from the hip. So, appreciate everybody listening, and go check out Talk or Go Home as well. Thanks. We'll see you guys next week.